यह आज गो 3 सितंबर आब ये बारिश शुरू तो 3 सितंबर 4 सितंबर पे सौलाब वसित
त्रेमी पे लगिन ये मकान नीन ताकि शेमिस तान
यह सूरम तारीख अम दोन गो ये लगभग 10 10:30 बजे गो ये बांड यल
पटवार दो 10:30 अब शहर के पर थोड़ा थोड़ा वारे बिल्कुल हल्को सा बकान
7 तारीख को सुबह 4:45 बजे जब सैलाब आया एक सीढ़ी पर चढ़ा था नीचे से
Usually a dry month, September 2014 in Kashmir starts with unusual rains. Rain gods refuse to relent for days and days, and the valley witnesses a torrent. In the absence of a proper drainage system, many areas get inundated. Watching the scene on television from home on September 5, I call my colleagues, enquiring the level of floodwaters in their areas and suggesting them not to come to the office, as it would be dangerous for them to wade through the waters. As my residence is located at the upper plains of Dargah and close to Kashmir University, I go to the office as usual and get busy with work. An hour later, I turn on the TV and flip through news channels.
This is the situation. Water level is constantly increasing and flood situation in Jammu and Kashmir is only getting worse.
श्रीनगर के लाल चौक के पास के इलाकों में सड़कें पानी में गुम हैं।
In Srinagar, while the average norm for the 4th of September is less than 1 millimeter of rain,
According to TV reports, some areas in South Kashmir have submerged. There is still no panic in the Srinagar city. On September 6, reports start pouring in that floodwaters are going to submerge more areas. Rumors abound. No one is sure what will be the level of flood. Like many others, I am thinking that floods would be in the usual basins meant for flood absorption. Little do I realize that by the evening of September 6, it will not only submerge the usual low-lying areas but will also move towards other places normally considered safe. On September 7, Sunday morning, TV and Radio Kashmir present a grim picture.
Flood situation in Jammu and Kashmir has worsened.
जहां से लाल चौक की शुरुआत होती है, ये पूरा इलाका देखिए पानी में डूबा हुआ है.
During our visit to the city with the Honorable Chief Minister, उसके बाद हमने ये कंफर्म कर दिया कि ब्रीच हो गया on very 4th. और उसका डिस्चार्ज जो था वो 70,000 क्यूसेक्स है, which is very dangerous. We have got 66 number of breaches in Jahlim. Even जो डिस्चार्ज उनसे जा रहा था, उसके बाद भी 3 से 5, 5.5 फुट रिवर ओवरफ्लोइंग था, राइट और लेफ्ट.
The water is gushing fast towards the main parts of the city and storming from every side. The city center is getting drowned with no one to protect it. By the evening of September 7, major parts of Srinagar are submerged.
देखते 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 पूरा अंदर कमरे में भर गया।
एक एक घंटे के बाद एक एक फुट मैक्सिमम रेज हो रहा था।
4 और 6 के दरमियान ब्रीचेस होते गए क्योंकि डिस्चार्ज इतना ज्यादा था कि एम्बैंकमेंट्स स्पिल कर गए।
When it came inside, it was a very great velocity. That is, you find that the cars were topsy-turvy. They had gone up on the walls and everything. And you could never think how this thing must have happened, because that time there was a greater velocity. Once it took its own area, its own absorption, area, then it was calm.
जब भी फ्लड्स यहाँ आते हैं तो ये पहले जब उतरना होता है पहले ये कांस्टेंट रहता है, उसके बाद उतरता है। वही शाम को 6 बजे 7 को जो हुआ, शाम को हमने देखा कि गेज बिल्कुल ये स्टडी रहा और उसके बाद नीचे होना चाहिए। तो शाम के बाद जब 11 बज गए, 11 के बाद ये अब्रप्टली 2-3 घंटे में तकरीबन 4-5 साढ़े 4 फुट चढ़ गया। अब ये पानी कहां से आया, ये हमारे लिए प्रॉब्लम बन गया।
It was reported that after the water level went below the danger mark, a couple of hours later, there was an abrupt rise of 5 to 8 feet. How did that happen? Was there a cloudburst, or was there something else, which the engineers had forgotten?
जहाँ पे मेरा ऑब्जर्वेटरी है वहाँ पे क्लाउड बर्स्ट कहीं नहीं हुआ, इतना मैं कह सकता हूँ। फ्रॉम मेट्रोलॉजिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू किसी भी चीज़ को क्लाउड बर्स्ट घोषित करने के लिए टेक्निकली 100 मिलीमीटर यानी 10 सेंटीमीटर पर आवर के हिसाब से बारिश होना चाहिए और हाईली लोकलाइज होना चाहिए। जहाँ पे हमारा ऑटोमेटिक वेदर स्टेशन कश्मीर में 9 ऑटोमेटिक वेदर ऑब्जर्वेटरी है, कोई भी ऑब्जर्वेटरी हमें 1 घंटे में 100 मिलीमीटर के हिसाब से बारिश नहीं दिया। ऑफ कोर्स देयर वाज रेनफॉल हुआ था और बहुत हेवी टू वेरी हेवी रेनफॉल हुआ था, वो तो सबको पता है।
Nobody has come up with that evidence, and definitely the cloudburst leaves scars on the landscape, and those scars remain there for years. If you go to Leh cloudburst, so 2010, if you go there now, it is 2015, you can see very visible evidences of the cloudburst.
When the upper reaches of the river Jhelum got first submerged, that means the areas of Pulwama district, the left bank of the river. So there was huge amount of water which was stored in that floodplain, which is lying very close to river Jhelum. So when the water level at Sangam started receding, so people thought that flood is probably under control. So without apprehending that the flood water, the huge water which has been stored within this floodplain, it could easily gush back into river Jhelum and it may cause flooding downstream. So that is where it was probably mismanaged.
Doordarshan TV station, Radio Kashmir, major hospitals, the High Court, the Civil Secretariat and other vital government buildings are underwater. Communication channels break down. Electricity is gone, so is the radio and TV communication. Rifat Abdullah, a Srinagar-based correspondent of a news channel, has a brush with death, thinking this as his last appearance in front of the camera.
पिछले 14 साल से रिपोर्टिंग करते आए और लोगों के मसले हाईलाइट करते आए, लेकिन इस वक्त हमें नहीं मालूम कि हमारा मामला कौन हाईलाइट करेगा। हालांकि कैमरा और माइक तो हमारे साथ में है, लेकिन कम्युनिकेशन कट चुका है और आप देख सकते हैं हर तरफ से हम पानी में आए हुए हैं और हर तरफ से दूसरी मंजिल पे पानी है, हम चौथे मंजिल पे इस वक्त।
People for people, the whole government is flooded. Except for the helpless chief minister, there is no one around. To me, it seems the end of the world. I am numb. Here is my city, the only city in Kashmir Valley, gasping for survival.
हमारी कुछ भी उम्मीद नहीं थी कि हम बचेंगे।
बच्चे चिल्ला रहे थे दूध के वास्ते, खाने के वास्ते, मगर था नहीं कुछ, क्या करते। अब मैं मौत अपने सामने देखी है।
One of the lady of that house, she was faint and blood was coming out from her nose. They called my son, who is a doctor. My son has taken some medicine. He threw this medicine to the Sardarji's anesthesia.
तेज चलाने लगे, ये पड़ोसी देख रहे थे, ये भी पीछे भाग गए। बस ये मकान गिरा, वो भी गिर गया। अगर वो आगे होते, उनकी डेथ हो गई।
After a week, Lal Chowk is still submerged. Boats are rowing in what used to be the busiest route in Kashmir. The phone connectivity across the valley continues to be disrupted. After 15 days, some order is restored in parts of Srinagar. The posh Rajbagh, Jawahar Nagar, Bemina and other areas are still submerged.
तकरीबन लगे 8 दो 9 दो बस 9 दो आब थे बट सो देलस लड़ाई कर मोटर पाने ठीक।
जितने भी परमानेंट डिवाटरिंग स्टेशंस थे यहाँ श्रीनगर अराउंड है, वो काम नहीं कर पाए क्योंकि एक तो बिजली नहीं थी, दूसरे वो डूब गए पानी में।
One should have mobile dewatering stations so that dewatering does not stop.
I decide to move out and see the havoc that the flood has caused. After passing through the devastated city, all I could utter, "Oh my God!"
I say even 10% of the property could have been saved. Today some people are left with nothing. Some people didn't believe that there was going to be flooding. They were taken unawares. The reason is that there was not a proper public announcements.
Naugam area particularly, and that area, Laljan area and this area, this Srinagar city was getting inundated. It was just entering into the South Srinagar city. People from that area moved to the Rajbagh and Korsu, which is highly vulnerable. That means people were not knowing how vulnerable they are.
पूरा एंटायर एरिया में किसी मस्जिद में अनाउंस नहीं हुआ कि अब शिफ्ट हो जाएगा, वाटर अलार्म लेवल से आ रहा है।
There was enough information with the divisional commissioner's office. They had it. Even I phoned that the evening, 6th evening.
The scale of destruction is not only unprecedented, but also unimaginable. The floodwaters have swept not only the property but also the will of the people.
About say तकरीबन 2 मकान डैमेज बाकी मकान तम अनसेफ तथ मे रूजित कहें ये मामूली दुकान किरान दुकान तमें कॉलम रुपये 4-5 लक्ष माल तमें बेचारा खत्म क्या कर
एंटायर शिवपुरा में तो मुझे लगता है कि 40-50 के करीब मकान टोटली डैमेज्ड है।
दुकान पूरा खत्म
I decide to move further. Passage through Srinagar and other places of Kashmir. What I see is a total destruction. I move towards the place that is famously or notoriously known as Ganzal. The place where the river Jhelum is traditionally breached to save the Srinagar city. Here, the river has taken along with it the earth as well. The trees are scattered and uprooted. Ganzal is the place situated on a lower basin. It finds a way to cut the dike and flows towards the places marked for water absorption. This outflow gives Jhelum time to calm itself.
जो आम नोशन है कि ब्रीचेस किए जाते हैं, जैसे कंडीजाल की बात कर रहे हैं आप या कहीं और कह रहे हैं, मगर एज फार एज द रिकॉर्ड्स आर कंसर्न्ड यहाँ कोई ये कहीं पे रिटन डॉक्यूमेंट अवेलेबल नहीं है कि हम कहीं ब्रीच करते हैं.
The catchment area of Ganzal had been uninhabited or thinly populated for a long time. The floodwater would instantly flow and spread to a distance of 6 kilometers before starting its downward movement through the peripheries of Srinagar city. But today people who live, or to put it accurately, were allowed to construct houses here deny such thing.
By the time the Kandizal could have taken some of this discharge within this basin of the river Jhelum, and it would have got spread and absorbed in this area, the discharge volume in the Jhelum could have lowered down.
We allowed water to pass. Kandizal was not punctured. It got punctured of its own, and it flowed into the Shivpura. Then it overflowed riverbank.
Had it been breached much in advance, then probably the Srinagar city could have been saved.
Morning में मुझे एक कॉल आ गई from Kandizal that some water is leaking out. Send us bags. तो मैंने उसमें बैग तो नहीं भेजे क्योंकि strategies were fixed something like that. तो उसके बाद 2 घंटे के बाद एक और मैसेज मिली वहाँ से कि पानी ज़्यादा निकल रहा है, मतलब ये हमें किसी भी सूरत में बैग चाहिए.
We are forgetting the fact that the river Jhelum was flowing 3 to 5 meters above its banks. The breaching of Kandizal for the safety of the Srinagar doesn't arise at all here in this situation.
Even if you would have breached the Kandizal, probably railway bund could have restricted the spread of the water, because railway bund acts as a two-way sword. It can protect the upstream areas sometimes, and downstream areas can be submerged. Or if there is a drainage congestion sort of a thing, in that case upstream areas can be submerged and downstream areas can be protected.
It is not only the question of the houses. Some very important, very big mega development projects have featured in the floodplains, like the railway line, like the highway. What is the impact of these? I think there should be serious scrutiny of these developmental projects, whether they will make the flooding less or whether they will enhance the vulnerability to the flooding.
Yes, there was some abnormal activity. मसलन कहीं पे 2 दिन में पानी या 1 दिन में पानी चला जाता था, वो immediately आ गया. कहीं पे 8 फुट पानी था, वहाँ 6 ही फुट आ गया. कहीं पे 4 फुट आता था, वहाँ 6 फुट आ गया. So this is to be analyzed. और ये भी हमने उठाया था, क्योंकि what is the role of this railway line and हमारा जो ये था, जो national highway बन रहा है, उसका हमने already उठाया था NRS से, कि इसका रोल हमें बताइए.
यम साथ आब ही है, अत गस आसनी जाय. अगर आब ही है, मे वुचमुत हिंदुस्तानस मन तम त काजवे यमन आब पेट गसन, तम बेती. मगर यमो बनो न तम आय काजवेज, यमो दुत अत यो बंडा हूँ, सीमेंटेड बंड, यम जन आब रुको, यु जन अस बचाव बदल बनो अस बायसे जानलेवा.
I don't have answers why this flood hit us and why Srinagar, the only city of Kashmir, was unprepared to meet the crisis. Whose fault was it? Who is responsible for it? To seek answers, I go to the places devastated by the flood.
पहले हम खुद से ही स्टार्ट करेंगे. जो जहलम के बैंक से उन पे हमने एनक्रोचमेंट किया है, और जो गवर्नमेंट की ओर से भी वो वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स खेलते हैं, उन्होंने अनऑथराइज्ड कॉलोनी को लीगलाइज किया.
There has always been in the Srinagar city a proper wetland system. Like if you talk about Dal is connected with your Khushal Sar, where then Anchar Lake, then Gil Sar, obviously then the Gil Lake in between, then the Gil Sar. Gil Sar is today non-existent.
We have got 24 hours from Sangam for 12 feet of water to flow up to the. For these 24 hours, we could have thought something immediate. There should have been an immediate reaction. That we find missing. We are constructing bridges on the Jhelum. Every bridge that comes up in the Jhelum restricts flow of water. Too close, 2-3 bridges have come up. Naturally, it has an effect on the river. It has an efflux, and it affects the bunds.
The traditional flood channel, which exists which bypasses the Jhelum waters from the Srinagar city, that is also choked at many places. So its carrying capacity has been reduced substantially. And plus one more thing is there was no disaster preparedness.
Here I am in South Kashmir's Kund area. Today, it's hard to imagine that people lived here before September 2014 floods. It is difficult to imagine that once concrete buildings were standing here with children playing and people farming.
Nimaz az besti yatas was dan yatas kul bagas vayas dan zemin os sabzi os yel patas yorte yatas os serji phan gum agos kunyuk ner nishana ki.
Yazos थे कि इसके तो थाजर चूषा ही वाच थे कि तो पत सब ये कोई बनो आड़ पत बनो न्यून सॉरी पाना से यथो नेम पाना पतालिया से बेसा से हटाओ ये चुन बासा नहीं हुई कि ना ये चाबे दिया
Today, there is nothing except boulders. It's a strange sight for villagers. They have no idea how would they reclaim their land. What was theirs has been taken away by the floods. What remains there is swath of land that belongs to no one, and which they will be incapable to fill in. Listening to people and their experience gives me a strange feeling. People affected by the floods have their own stories, horrifying stories of survival.
मकान सिन्यो बलाय प्रॉपर्टी सिन्यो बलाय सोरी करी वहीं तो ये तारक मैं बच्चे जू पद कुछ ये सड़की अब थोड़ा बहुत प्रोटेक्शन
आज कोर प्रेफर अस बचाओ कोड इंसान है माल बनी बे रोब थाई जिंदगी है माल बनी बे मगर इंसान बनी के
I connected that 2 ladders with the rope and take the rescue of my whole family on that LXC.
इसके सारी बच्चे बोर्ड नखन के बेस थोड़े ऑटोस्प्रिन हाउस पाने बनामस तथ पे कर बाकी मिलस कहीं
जब ये बगल वाला मकान गिरा उसके बाद हम लोग बागे के बाथरूम का था हमारा उसके ऊपर चढ़ गए 22 बंदे हम वहाँ पर 3 दिन लड़के रहे थे
अड़ फसे मस्जिद मज तो तुम बेचारे खेन वेन कहें कह खेन वेन 4 दिन मस्जिद मज बिहत
My neighbors have thrown two water bottles. That was a rain water, and my granddaughter has taken 1.5 liter of rain water, and she was survived because of that rain water.
हमको कुछ भी नहीं मिला बाथरूम का पानी पीता था
5 दिन मुझे पता नहीं था मेरे घर वाले कहाँ मेरे अम्मी अबू है भी या नहीं.
Although the easiest thing is to blame people for their apathy and encroachment.
The greed that I want to be very close to the water body and all that, and then a lot of filling has been done with the embankments. People are also responsible. People is a great alarm for the people also. If they don't understand now, they will never understand it. During this period, 1971 to 1998, now when we started working on the new master plan, the area of Mahjur Nagar had already got populated by about more than 10 to 15,000 people. It was impossible to advocate a case that you should remove these people. The problem, where was the problem? It was not the problem in the planning process. The problem was at the developmental process.
But then you got to ask yourself, what was the army of government employees doing when all this was happening? Why were people given permission to construct buildings? Why did government sit on the report for years when it was predicted that floods would ravage the city one day?
The government also wrote a report to the Central Government of India, Central Water Commission, saying that a 100-year flood will play havoc with the property and life of the people of Kashmir. We need to take certain measures.
Why was construction allowed in the flood-spill channel? Why did government allow construction in the water absorption basins? Bemina was the area meant for absorption of water, but today most of the important government offices are there. Not to speak of other installations, Srinagar Development Authority, committed to build the city, has built its own office in this forbidden zone.
Where were the implementing agencies that time who controlled these activities? They should not permit it. Where was the Municipal Corporation when the SDA building came up? Where was the Municipal Corporation when the police headquarters came up? Today you see the embankments, the constructions have come very close to them. Weaken the embankment.
There has to be no conversion of the flood of the wetlands to the non-wetland use. But unfortunately, in this place, wetlands are regarded as wastelands. That is why they have been recklessly exploited and converted to the non-wetland use. But they use it to play a very important function. That is the function of regulating the water during the flooding.
जो हमारी वाटर बॉडीज हुआ करती थी, जैसे बिमना एरिया ले लीजिए आप, तो वहाँ पे जो हैबिटेशन अब आ गई, चाहे ये तो ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ जो भी लाइफ यहाँ पे हैं, सब रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं. मैं रिस्पॉन्सिबल हूँ, डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं, लोग खुद रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं इसमें.
7 feet filling has been done in flood basins like Bemina. Bemina colony also used to absorb a lot of flood water. You see Rajbagh, it has come up as a colony. It is lower than the water level of Jhelum on one side and this flood spill channel.
I am saying that कि these activities were already in place. हम कोशिश कर रहे थे कि नजदीक आ जाएं, कहीं से हम शुरू करें, क्योंकि हम कहेंगे कि आज वो सुबह ये साफ हो जाए, वो पॉसिबल नहीं है. 4 स्ट्रक्चर उठाने में हमें 1 महीना भी लग सकता है.
All through this journey I have questions. What caused the floods? And could the city have been saved? Was the deluge avoidable? Or could the damage have been minimized? Was the city allowed to drown? Who are responsible for such large-scale destruction? And why didn't the government fix the responsibility? Why were those who did not allow breaches to be made at Ganjal in time taken to task? Why wasn't water diverted to Dal Lake?
The intensity of floods would have got reduced once some portion of water would go Ganjal. Then flooding of Dal used to be done gradually. That too, the level of Dal Lake used to be much lesser than what they have maintained at present. So the carrying capacity of this Dal is now reduced.
They did not act properly. They did not act timely. They were probably not that dedicated to do the job.
ये पानी वहाँ चला गया जो originally पानी ही था.
The SGA should be held responsible. Why not? That if something has come, or the municipal corporation. Why not municipal corporation? How did the buildings come in such a big number in the Mahjur Nagar? How does the building come overnight in the central area?
My journey ends. My questions don't. I still ask, what if we witness high-intensity rains once again? Are we prepared to protect ourselves? Will Srinagar be saved? Or will it be the end of it?